All right, so here are all the answers to the vocab, so check those. Just like on the last test, they will be divided into smaller sections, so you won't have 10 vocab words and 10 definitions. Maybe it'll be 3, 3, and 4. Maybe it'll be 5 and 5. But they will be divided up in some sort of fashion. So do study these, but remember the order will be different and they will be in smaller chunks. Do you have any questions before we move on?
No.
So in number 8, we are given the entire segment, TR, as 12. I'm looking for the two smaller ones. What are they both? 6. The way you do that is you divide the 12 by 2. Half of the units have to go on one side, half on the other. Any questions? Number 9 is a little different. Now you're just given one of the smaller sides. So what's the other smaller side? 9.
Where did you get 7 from?
Remember, they're just the same. So if one's 9, the other one is also 9. And then what's the whole thing? 18. You just add them together. Any questions? All right, number 10, you need the midpoint formula. That's where you add the x's.
Okay, so you go 3 plus 5.
Hold on a second. You add the x's, you divide by 2. You add the y's, and you divide by 2. So which ones are the x's?
3 and 10.
3 and 5. So you're going to do 3 plus 5.
Yeah, 3 plus 5.
You're going to divide that by 2. Then you're going to do 10 plus 2 and divide that by 2. The first one you get 8 divided by 2, that's 4. The next one you get 12 divided by 2, that's 6. So this is your answer. You can see in the directions how the points will be broken down tomorrow. So again, it kind of helps you see like, hey, this problem's super important, I should really know how to do it. Or, hey, this one's only worth 2 points, so maybe it's not really worth my time. So it is up to you where you spend your time depending on how many points each one's worth. Here the x is worth 2 points, the y is worth 2 points. 4 points is kind of a lot for one problem, so this is something I would definitely work on tonight if you're a little confused. Any questions? So here we have an angle that is being bisected. In number 11, the entire angle is 40. So the whole thing is 40. What does each little part need to be? 20 and 20. Very good. Remember, bisected means it cuts it into 2 congruent angles. So you should have the same measure for both the little angles, and they should add up to give you the big one. So if I give you the big one, you can just divide by 2. On 12, I gave you one of the little ones. So what's the other little one? 70. And then what's the whole thing? 140. Great. Number 13. B is the midpoint. I can tell that because these are labeled as being congruent. Congruent in math means equal, so I'm going to set them equal. And then I'm going to solve for the x. When you solve for x here, you should, yes, thank you, you should get an 8. All right, on the next one, they're not congruent. The angles are not labeled to be alike, but they are labeled with this box. What does the box mean?
90 degrees.
90 degrees. So when you put these two angles together, you should get 90 degrees. All right, so to solve this, I first subtract 60 from both sides. That gives me 2x equals 30, and then you divide both sides by 2. And x equals 15. Any questions on this one? Next, we're talking about complementary angles. Complementary angles add to what? 90. So if you're unsure of that, put 90 right there so that when you study tonight, you remember that. And then supplementary is 180. I told you guys this earlier. I remember this using alphabetical order. C comes before S in the alphabet. C is the smaller one, the 90. S is the bigger one, the 180. All right, once you remember those, it's pretty simple. You just start with the measurement that you're trying to get to, and you subtract the angle that you're given. So 15 is 40 degrees. And 16 is 25 degrees. Any questions on those two? All right, same thing on the next one, except now we're trying to get to 180. So I'm going to start with 180, take away 40, that's 140. Number 18, I'm going to start with 180, I'm going to take away 125. I think it's 55, right? All right, this next one, number 19, is actually a theorem that we learned earlier. I'll kind of explain it in writing. You don't have to write all this out, though. So what this is saying is that angle 1 and angle 3 add to 180, right? They're supplementary. Angle 3 and angle 5 also add to 180. It is asking you which angles have to be congruent. Well, look, they equal the same number when you add them, right? The 3's have the same measure, they're the same angle. So that means that which ones have to be the same? 1 and 5. That's the only way those equations will work. So 1 and 5. Actually, we'll just use the congruent symbol. 1 and 5 have to be congruent. Again, that is a theorem straight from your notes. Go back and study that if you'd like. Or just try to remember that if they add to give you the same thing and 2 of them are the exact same angle, the other 2 have to be congruent. Questions? Yes. Number 20 is a linear pair because when you put the angles together, they form a line. So line, like linear line. Okay? 21, they're right across from each other. Vertical, good. And then 22? Neither. There's nothing special. Those are just 2 angles. All right. You're setting up equations on the next 4 depending on what type of angles they are. Remember, linear pairs add to 180. Vertical angles are the same. So in number 23, do we have vertical angles or a linear pair? Vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, so you can set them equal to one another and solve for the x part. What is x? 18? Questions? All right, number 24. Vertical angles, linear pair. What do you think?
Okay, so that would be 180.
Yeah, they're a linear pair, so you can add them together to equal 180. And then you solve this equation.
So then you subtract 40.
You subtract 140. So you get 4x equals 40.
Yeah, and then you divide it and you get 10.
So x equals 10. Great. All right, I'm going to give us some extra room by scrolling down, so let me know when you guys are good on those. 25 is a what?
Linear.
Yeah, when you put them together, they form a straight line. So what should I do with those 2 expressions?
180.
Yeah, add them together, equal to 180.
Minus 60.
So I'm going to subtract 60.
120, 12, divided by 120 will be 11, something like that.
So 12x equals 120.
Something like
That should actually give you 10. So x equals 10. Now, if you're ever unsure, you can plug the x back in, do the math, and see if you get 180 for the angles. All right, 26. What kind of angles are these? These are the vertical angles. These are congruent, so x equals 35. That's it. Already solved. No math really there. All right, number 27. Anytime it is raining, I carry an umbrella with me. I'm supposed to write an if-then statement.
I'll carry an umbrella.
Good. If it is raining. Very good.
Bro, still.
Shh. All right, now read the directions. Are we done? No. See how it says circle the hypothesis, underline the conclusion? So what am I circling?
If it is raining.
If it is raining, what am I underlining?
Marissa.
Then I carry an umbrella. You could put the with me if you want. Now, notice how many points is this worth? 6 points. You are getting points for writing the statement, for circling the hypothesis, and for underlining the conclusion. If you don't do all the work, you are not going to get all the points. 6 points is a lot. That's over half of a letter grade. So you could drop from an A to a B just by not reading the directions here. Do you have any questions on the if-then statement? All right, and then the last one for 2 points each, we are matching the properties. So the reflexive property is when you have the same thing on both sides of the equal sign. Which one is that? B. The symmetric property states that you can switch the order of the things that are equal. No. A. Transitive is where you cut out the middleman. So notice they get rid of the CD and CD and they just go straight from A, B to EF. So that is a classic example of the transitive property. Your test is tomorrow. The test is almost exactly like this. The order will be slightly different on the matching parts. The numbers will be slightly different on all the rest of them. But you should expect the points to be broken down the same way and the same number of each type. Any questions?